So you're thinking about a crawler for yourself, you selfish self, or maybe for a loved one or somebody that you don't like at all and you just want them out of your way. Crawling is a really good way to get out of the house, by the way. Let's talk about crawlers for the first time owner. With Christmas right around the corner, that means that Black Friday is coming upon us and there's going to be lots of deals. Lots and lots of deals. Maybe not from Holmes Hobbies. We typically just don't run sales. That's not what we're talking about today. We're talking about crawlers, first time crawlers, or you're getting something for somebody who doesn't have a crawler yet. So there's a few things that we can do to look at this situation here. Number one, what's your budget? That's going to be the biggest thing. You don't really want to spend more than what you want to spend, right? But at the same time, if you're going to get a crawler, you don't want to just go to Walmart and get those things on the shelf because it's not really going to be a crawler. It'll look like a crawler, but it's not going to actually crawl. So the quality of the rig does really matter. And then the aftermarket support. So we got budget, we got the quality of the rig, and then we got aftermarket support. Those are my three big things. Doesn't matter what price range we're talking about. Those are my three big things that I look at. Now, if we're going for ultra budget, there's a few companies that stick out to me that maybe or maybe not you want to buy them. So we've got FMS, and they have all kinds of stuff in the catalog, and their budget on some of their models, but they also can be expensive. So you can adjust your size, get a bigger crawler or a smaller crawler, whereas my smaller ones, I don't have many of them here for lower budget. Another one is Red Cat on there. Now with the Red Cat, they've had some issues in the past with quality that they've potentially seemingly solved, but the design on the Red Cat typically doesn't have the best suspension geometry. Same for FMS, although they're always getting better, of course. And you're going to find very good deals for those two brands. Now, if you want to step out of the most budget brands, and of course, if there's other ones that I'm missing, there's so many brands these days, leave your comments down below. Like, what are the budget brands these days besides FMS and Red Cat? Or maybe those are just the two big ones. And FMS, maybe they're not even budget anymore. Who knows? I certainly don't have a lot of FMS rigs. But let's say you don't want to go for super duper budget. You want to go maybe mid-range. And then you're going to be talking about something from, let's say, Axial at SCX-10-2. I think the Base Camp is one that they sell for a relatively low price because it doesn't have a lot of frills. Something like the TRX4 Sport or even the TRX4M. You go to a smaller size, again, you're going to find that they're much less on the money spending. So you can do something like that, the lower end Axial ones. You can go lower end on the Element Enduros. They're always a good rig, of course. What else is in that middle range, though? You leave your comments below because, again, y'all are going to have more experience combined than me in this. And I also typically go for that upper range for my own spending, right? I mean, we look around at most of these rigs, and I got a TRX4 Sport. It's great, but is it necessarily going to be the best? Now, I would say for a beginner who's just starting out that you think that they're going to stay in the hobby, the TRX4 Sport is actually a really good choice. It doesn't have a 2-speed. That means there's less things to break. There's less servos to break, which is the biggest issue with the normal TRX4s. Is sometimes those shifting servos, those servos for our unlocking diffs, sometimes they just go belly up because they want to. And that's something with a newbie that you really don't want, because on their first outing they could have bad luck and boom, they can't crawl anymore. So there's those middle range options, of course. And what is the price range that I'm talking about? Instead of spending maybe $200 or $300, we're talking maybe $400 range, something like that, $400, $500. This isn't the cheapest hobby. You probably already know that if you're watching this video, though. Now we've got our upper end stuff. This is where you get into rigs that not only have great part support like the middle of the road ones, but they come with a lot of stuff that you would typically find as aftermarket. This is going to be hardened gears in your drivetrain. This is going to be either higher quality electronics in there or having some machine parts on there. There's going to be a lot of these upgrades on a rig. And now we're talking about, maybe the $500 to $800 rig, something like what would come from Vanquish. Now, of course, they have some, middle of the road ones too, but you can get some kits. And maybe for the first time buyer, kits aren't the best idea. You'll have to let me know on that. Who are you buying for specifically? but you can definitely spend a lot of money. And if you're going to spend that much money for it, maybe buying something off the shelf isn't exactly what you want to do. So number one, budget. Again, you want to figure out what your budget is. And if you have a budget that's less than $300 or so, you may end up you just may want to go with something smaller. 24 scale, is that going to be too small? Maybe not. Maybe not. SCX 1024, one of the least expensive rigs on the market. As far as a name brand, FMS has ones that are more affordable. And then the TRX4M, you can keep in that under $200 budget range pretty easily. You can even get a little bit of aftermarket for them and stay within that. But once you go above that and you go to 10th scale rigs, the price does go up fairly quickly. However, your aftermarket really isn't much less expensive on the smaller guys. So long term, you end up spending almost as much on the full size and the small size. So in my opinion, at least, I want something that I can walk on a trail behind, and it's going to be something that's 10th scale. Not so much the 18th and the 16th and whatever they call that kind of stuff, at least in my area. It's just a little too small. Maybe in your area it actually works better. And again, post your comments down below on this, because this is a video to where everybody's opinion really does matter. And there's a lot of different parts of the country, and your needs may not be the same as my needs on this. So let's recap. Cost, you want to stay within your budget range. Performance, you want to make sure that you're getting something that's not only going to be the right size, but also have some decent engineering behind it, in my opinion. If you're getting into this and you want to be in that medium budget range at least, you can definitely get something that is going to have a lot of aftermarket support and have really good performance in there. Honestly, the stuff that Vanquish has been putting out has been extremely high quality. It has really good geometry. I'm not here to just push Vanquish on anybody, but I've been really impressed with their ready-to-run rigs here lately. And then finally, the aftermarket support. And you're going to find Traxxas, Axial, and Vanquish tend to have some of the largest aftermarket support out there. Element has pretty good aftermarket support, but not quite as much as the other ones. In particular, Axial and Traxxas, they've got a lot of stuff, but Vanquish itself was an aftermarket company, so a lot of the stuff that they have also fits on Axial rigs, but there's been aftermarket support that has sprung up for Vanquish itself, which is pretty cool to see. So people are selling things for you to upgrade your Vanquish, which when it boils down to it, is it really an upgrade a lot of times? I mean, maybe adding some weight or whatever, but you can get it directly from Vanquish and not a third party. And then you make sure that it fits, because that is the biggest thing. When you start to buy aftermarket parts and you start buying from all the different vendors, it's not really guaranteed that everybody's stuff is going to fit together on your rig anymore. So it's something to at least watch out for. So there we go. Make sure that you start with your budget. And then personally, I'm going to say, you know, stick with FMS, stick with Traxxas, stick with Axial, stick with Element, stick with Vanquish. Those companies you know are going to be around to help you. You're going to be able to find parts easily, quickly, and inexpensively when something does break. It's something probably going to break. And then otherwise, just make sure that you're getting something that you're going to go out and have fun with. And then hopefully, again, not have a breakage that becomes something that's, you know, a really long fix, or, you know, waiting for a warranty part or something like that. And so for that reason, I would say, you know, maybe stay away from the 2 speeds, especially if this is a first purchase to get into crawling. Don't do something that's super duper complicated. Just get a very basic, easy to work on, easy to manage kit, or ready to run, probably ready to run in all honesty. So I don't know, this is kind of a vague video on there, but your first rig can really be just about anything that's within your budget, and it's still going to be fun, right? But I also want to make sure that when you get yourself or one of your friends or loved ones into a new hobby like this, that they don't have immediate problems that are going to turn them off for potentially the rest of their lives on that. So maybe you'll be around to help out. Hey, something breaks, let me swap you out. You know, I got a spare servo or whatever it is. You know, that is something to at least plan ahead just a little bit on. So there you go. Love to hear your comments on this. What sort of rigs would you like for your first rig, or what do you think is the perfect rig to give to somebody else as their first rig? I think it's a really good topic, especially this time of year when there's a lot of gift giving coming on. So as always, thanks for tuning in. Have a great day. You've made it to the end of the video. Hopefully that means you liked what you saw. If you want to help out the channel, you can like, subscribe, and definitely comment down below. We would like to hear new ideas from you, so be sure you let us know what you'd like to see. There are some other suggestions probably floating by my head right now that you can check out. And otherwise, we appreciate your support and your help growing the channel.